Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Today I wanted to raise the topic of feeling of belonging when you move to a new country. My name is Anna, I currently live in Denmark and I moved here about 8 months ago. So now I live in Aalborg together with my husband. Yesterday me and my husband were invited to one presentation which was dedicated to the importance of volunteering in Denmark. And of course when talking about volunteering we were asked why people even start volunteering, what are they looking for? And of course people do volunteering for a bunch of reasons, like developing their skills, traveling, maybe developing language skills, especially if you're a foreigner in a new country. But one of the most significant things of volunteering is being able to feel like you belong to some organization, to some mission, to some goal or idea. And then the speaker kind of readdressed this question to us, to foreigners who were present during this presentation. We got divided into two groups and we were asked to think together what kind of things, moments, situations made us feel like we belong to a new country, a society, a community. And then we had to think about the opposite list, situations in which we felt like we did not belong somewhere. So here's the list of things that we came up with in our groups. And of course we were thinking about Denmark because most of us just moved to Denmark and we were trying to integrate into society. And we named different things. First of all, people noticed how much Denmark is a family-oriented country. It's very nice here for families, for children. They talk about it often, they develop different structures, organize events and everything like there's a lot of things that families with children or without can do. Then speaking about the country as a whole, of course we noted that Denmark is a very safe country. People trust each other, at least maybe in smaller cities, because now I live in Aalborg. It's not Copenhagen, so I guess in Copenhagen it might be different, but here, I don't know, what was unusual for me is that people trust each other. Nobody is gonna track you, monitor you. Are you stealing something from the supermarket? Or where are your hands? Can I check your bags? What's inside? Did you take anything? No, quite the opposite actually. You can often see some little stores or stands with goods where you can just come, pick a good, and then there is a phone number which says, yeah, it costs 50 krona, please transfer it to this number. For me, this is unusual because in my home country, you have metal detectors everywhere. You will have to pass through them several times when you go to the airport. Metal detectors are in every metro station. If you're alone in the store, most likely you are watched to make sure that you didn't take something with yourself and didn't leave the store, you know? So yeah, safety, peace, trust in Denmark is beyond the level of imaginable for me. Another thing that we mentioned is that there is a lot of events organized for foreigners. At least I find the number of events organized for me and my friends who just moved to the country sufficient. In Aalborg, for example, we have the International House, and those are people specifically concerned with integrating foreigners into Danish society or into international society as well. And to me personally, it was a huge help because I found a lot of friends through their events and I got to see a lot of people, to meet even companies representatives and to learn useful skills like how to make a CV in Denmark, what are the specifics of job search in Denmark. It was useful and I'm really grateful that there are people who actually got concerned about that. Of course, one of the most inspiring things that can happen to you as a foreigner is when you become friends with locals. I know a lot of foreigners, especially if they come to study in the university, not my case, but still, they usually hang out with other foreigners who are in the same position like they are because it's easier. There are always some topics in common. You can discuss a lot of things that you both had to go through. But getting to the hearts of locals is a little bit more challenging. And I heard a lot of things about Danes, that they're very preserved. They don't really like meeting with people too often. If you want to meet them, you have to schedule something months in advance. And they would rather be alone, they would never invite you to their house. And I guess a part of it is true, because it's kind of the right of every person to stay home if they want to. But also to some extent, I disagree with that because, well, from my experience, we've been invited to the houses of our friends from Denmark. They're very nice, they're very welcoming, and they have, they have a lot of things that make the house very cozy and make having guests over very cozy. So it was a very lovely experience. Let me know actually if you would like me to make a video about how I made friends here in Denmark, how I made friends with foreigners and with Danish people. I don't know if there is one of these topics that is more interesting to you than another. Just leave a comment, I will see it. Now to the other side of this question, what makes people feel like they do not belong, especially when they move to a new country? Of course, this can be very different from country to country. For example, during this presentation yesterday, we had a couple of people from Africa, and they said that they felt really lonely here during Christmas, because apparently in their traditions, they just open their houses for Christmas and everybody can come and enjoy the food and then go to another house, and the doors are open for everyone and people don't need to warn other people in advance that they're coming just because it's Christmas, and this is what they do. And here in Denmark they were really confused with the fact that people are sitting in their homes, they are spending time with maybe their families and not really moving between one house to another. It's just that they gather together in very small companies and celebrate it in a very, I guess, not loud way. That was really unusual for them. And I do think that in Denmark, I personally would feel weird knocking to someone else's house and saying, "Hi, can I share a meal with you?" Even though it's Christmas. Like, I don't know, I don't imagine myself doing that. And probably the main thing that made a lot of people feel like they do not belong in a new country was the language barrier. And I must say, Denmark is quite good with English. Everybody speaks English here. Small kids, elderly people, like, there's no problem with the language at all. However, there are also cases when people, it's not that they cannot speak English, but they just choose not to. They switch to Danish even though there's a person, let's say if it's a group of people and all of them speak Danish except for one person, they probably are not gonna switch to English just for one person. Unfortunately, I heard the stories of this happening, especially in schools and kindergartens. I have a friend who shared his experience with his children that didn't really feel accepted at school or at kindergarten for this particular reason. Another thing that is a little bit specific to Denmark is that there are not a lot of people who would be willing to help you, let's say in the supermarket, when you need to find the right section. You kind of have to do it on your own. While in other countries, there are usually people who work in the supermarket who you can approach and ask to show you where something that you're looking for is. Another thing that people faced was some discrimination, but not on the level of day-to-day communication with people, friends, and like people who live there, but rather on something like institutional level. I'm not really an expert in this subject yet, maybe I could research it more, but yeah, for some people it did feel not really welcoming. And of course I heard different sides of the same problem, like Denmark is a very welcoming country that accepts everyone and is very tolerant to all kind of people, and Denmark is a country that might be not that tolerant when it comes to specific nationalities or groups of people. In any case, I believe that the topic of belonging to a community, especially when you move to a new country, is a very important thing. It was my biggest fear that I will not find friends and that I will feel lonely after I move, because I had a lot of friends who moved abroad and they started feeling lonely. They felt like they couldn't make new connections, they didn't have people to spend their free time with, and that was really depressing, adding on to all the problems that you have to solve when you move to a new country. However, after 8 months of living here, I think I managed to make a decent circle of friends in Denmark, and I am friends both with local people and with foreigners. I really value the friendships that I made here. They, like, I don't know, my friends have been so supportive through the hardest periods of my life here, and it means really a lot for me. So personally, I do feel like I belong here, but at the same time, I still value a lot that there are people who ask others whether they feel belonging or not, who are concerned with this matter, and who try to make the process of integration for foreigners easier and smoother. So I wanted to address this question to you. What makes you feel belonging to a community or to a society, to a group of people? It doesn't matter if we are talking about a new country or, let's say, a circle of people with the same hobby, like whatever community that you ever felt like you belong to. How did you feel it? How did you understand it? And of course, what kind of things made you feel the opposite, like you don't belong to this group of people? Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about this matter in the comments, and see you in the next video.